Support robotnation #1 comic book on the crowdfunding site Kickstarter. A 44-page sci-fi horror comic book for mature readers from New Zealand.
You know, getting back to the whole, like I was showing, like there's 28,500 comic projects on Kickstarter right now. Now, we said 25% of it would be like what we consider would be like people just doing it because comics are a thing. And there are people who are doing that. And, you know, amongst those 25, and this is what I want to get to.
Wait, 28,000, but those include the old funded ones too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But, I mean, they're the ones who are running at the moment. I'm not sure if it's the old funded ones as well. But
no, I think it's all of them, because I think at any given time there's only a couple of hundred running live.
Okay.
I don't remember one. I don't remember any time where it's gone too much past like 200.
Okay.
It might
so
have.
let me get to that, and let's have a look. So explore 200. Yeah, no, it's running.
So
what is your
parameter?
Funded, almost funded, and all this. Well,
what are your parameters?
This is the parameters got there. Explore. Yeah,
comics.
I think this is just under comics. Filtered. So right. Following projects I've backed, all projects, live projects. There we go. That would work. So right now, yeah, you're right. 282 comics. So
28,000. I was about to stop.
Right.
I've been like, I can't do this. That's too many projects.
Yeah. However, but here's the thing, right? With 200, and this is my point here. So with 282 comics,
yeah,
right, projects on there right now.
It's a lot.
50 of them would be the grift. Hey, it's a popular thing right now to do comic books. Now, the other point I wanted to make on this is there are, because of the grift comics and because of the, you know, not people who just don't love the comics. And I don't want to be some elitist here. I'm not, you know, right? I'm not saying that not everybody's doing it or doesn't love it. What I'm saying is that there are some who are doing it because it's the grift. But on top of that, there are people who are doing it because they're making it out of AI, right?
Yeah.
And this is
what AI I hate.
Yeah. So the grift also now has become where it's the AI comics are out here, and people, because of the lack of because of the grift for comics, there is two kinds of people that make AI comics. Those who really don't care and have a good little idea and chuck it into GBT, write me a comic, and this is the parameters. Boom. I actually and I did one of my stories like that. I said, oh, this. And I'll never use that story, right? But I wanted to see how it worked and what it could give you if you use the ChatGPT to write a comic book and how it worked out. And it gave me everything that is so stereotypical with what Hollywood believes the story should be.
Right.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And I was like, that's not how I want my stories, but this is exactly what you get in entertainment 90% of the time right now. Now, so with that, you could now create a comic book, not only with the script, but also the art sliced up, you know, stolen from like hundreds of thousands of, you know, if not a million comic book artists around the world to create your comic book in AI. And so the grift now gets not only the fact that you know, people who don't like it, but people who are using it to create AI art. And here's where I get pissed off about it. We put 2 years into a comic book, you know, work hard at it, and someone goes and puts out like a comic book within 3 months because they used AI art. Right? Not only that, maybe not even that, right? Maybe 24 hours or a month, right? Depending on what it is. Now that comic, because people have cheapened the value of what a comic book is and how much work goes into it, they will now pour $20,000 US into it over a handmade, skilled, decades learned, skilled, gone to school, gone to learn, gone to art school, you know, whatever, and they will spend $20,000 on that and spend $1,200 on another book that's been worked on by humans, because there's no value to comics anymore in the sense. What's your take on it, dude?
This is what's going to happen. AI creates something based on your prompts. All right. You're not going to have an ongoing series that's coherent with AI. You're not, because it's going to do your one book, and then you're going to go sit down for another book and give it its prompts, and it's going to create something, and your continuity is going to be shot within 3 or 4 books. That's my belief in that. But what I have to say to these people that want to stand up for AI art in this field or any field. First off, anyone that's not an artist, you can have your opinion, you can have your thought on it, but you really shouldn't try to have any say in it until it affects your business. If you're a writer and now they're taking your writing away, then you could say something. If you're a colorist and they're taking your color away, then you could say something. But don't. I've seen plenty of people come up on someone's stream or on their own stream and wanting to give the artist a lot of hell for not liking AI. Guess what? We could hate it all we want, or we could love it, but we could hate it all we want. The bottom line is anyone that's generating AI art and calling themselves an artist now and sticking up for it because that's what they have to do to be able to do it. Number one, where were you before the AI? Were you creating artwork? No. Okay. Number two, how much of yourself is actually poured into the artwork, the story, whatever? How much of yourself is there? How much of your idea is there? How much do you really care about the final product? If you don't, you're not an artist. And you didn't use a tool. AI is not a tool. AI creates everything. Digital art is a tool because I still have to know where to make that brush stroke go. I still have to know where to put the eye. I still have to know how the fingers bend. I still have to know all that stuff to manipulate digital art. I don't need to know a damn thing about that to do AI. So the argument is not even an argument for AI. AI is not an art tool. AI is something that anybody can use as long as they know how to read a book on how to operate it. And that to me is a piece of machinery. It's not a tool. All right. And you know what? I would love for someone to tell me what is the definition of a tool that they're using to say that it is one, because it's not. And you're not an artist if you're an AI artist, because again, nothing skilled about you went into it. And I'm sorry, writing prompts or stating prompts is not a talent. Anyone can do it.
So this is from Australia. So just around across the pond from us, right? This came out yesterday, and I want to play this. Let's have a look at this, right? In line with what we're talking about here. So this the title of this is this is an Australian news site. I mean news, their TV channel ABC. And so AI is reliant on mass surveillance, and we should be cautious. Once head of messaging app, right? So let's have a look at this because I haven't watched it. I want to watch it together with with a guest. So
Whitaker, welcome to 7:30.
Wonderful to be here. Thank you.
There are a couple of separate global debates going on about digital platforms. On the one hand, there's the debate about the incidence of mass surveillance of users on various platforms. And on the other one, or the other debate, and this is particularly important to Signal, is the right to privacy. If we could talk about those two to start with, why has privacy become so hard to protect online?
Well, there's a long answer to that question, but I'll put it quickly by saying that we are in the age of the mass surveillance tech company monopoly, where platforms like Facebook or YouTube or other large tech business models have built incredibly powerful empires by collecting huge amounts of data on people, creating classifications of people, and then selling access to advertisers or training AI models or doing other highly profitable activities with that data. So suffice it to say, mass surveillance is the engine of the tech company business model, and that's created a society where privacy is both important and in very, very short supply.
Australia's e-safety commissioner recently took on Elon Musk, for example, requesting the removal of vision of a stabbing in a church here in Sydney. It was unsuccessful. Should tech platforms be held responsible for spreading that sort of content?
Well, I think we need to break that question down and actually question the form that tech platforms have taken. Because we live in a world right now where there are about 5 major social media platforms that are very literally shaping the global information environment for everyone. So we have a context where these for-profit surveillance tech actors have outsized control over our information environment and present a very, very attractive political target to those who might want to shape or misshape that information environment. So I think we need to go to the root of the problem. The issue is not that every regulator doesn't get a chance to determine appropriate or inappropriate content. The issue is that we have a one-size-fits-all approach to our shared information ecosystem, and that these companies are able to determine what we see or not via algorithms that are generally calibrated to increase engagement, to promote more hyperbolic or more inflammatory content, and that we should really be attacking this problem at the root, beginning to grow more local and rigorous journalism outside of these platforms, and ensuring that there are more local alternatives to the one-size-fits-all surveillance platform business model.
But can we go to the question of control or interventions in private communications, like the encrypted communications on Signal? Governments in a number of countries have moved to try to get access for law enforcement purposes to encrypted communications. Shouldn't they be able to do that?
Absolutely not. Either encryption works for everyone, including governments, including militaries, including human rights workers, journalists, everyone for whom digital security and meaningful communications privacy equals life or death, equals the confidentiality of sensitive negotiations, equals the ability to do their job without oppressive surveillance. Or encryption is broken for everyone, and backdoors and vulnerabilities are left open for hostile nation states, for hackers, and for anyone else who would want to undermine our core infrastructure. So this is not a topic on which we can negotiate. This is a topic where we're talking about the fundamental laws of mathematics.
But the result of that is that you might have terrorists communicating on your platforms. Researchers at the University of New South Wales say that pedophiles in Australia who are actively offending are 5 times more likely to use Signal than other men. How concerned are you that your platform might be being used to carry abusive material or dangerous material?
The methodology of that survey is highly flawed, and I think we need to back up and recognize that we are in an age of unprecedented mass surveillance. There is more data available to law enforcement, available to governments than has ever been available in human history. And there is no evidence that the ability to communicate privately is a causal factor in the serious crime of child sexual abuse or terrorism. That there are many, many, many avenues open to law enforcement. And I think what we are seeing, sadly, is the continued rehashing of a desire that has existed for many, many decades for law enforcement to have access to every piece of information, all communications that happen on digital platforms. And we have seen this attack on encryption crop up every few years under a different pretext, whether it be terrorism or saving children or drug dealers or what have you. It is always argued that since the bad people can use encryption, we should kill it for everyone else. And that is an incredibly dangerous impulse at a time of rising political authoritarianism, when we can look back in history and see how disastrous the abuse of mass surveillance has been when in the hands of authoritarian regimes.
So what's your message then to our regulators and our politicians who would like to be able to get some controls, not just on Signal, but on all sorts of platforms in that encrypted space?
I encourage politicians to have actual political bravery, to realize that there are deep pathologies with the toxic business models that rely on monopoly surveillance, and that to attack those business models, you need to reduce the invasion of privacy that is at the heart of that industry instead of extending surveillance and trying to get a piece of what Silicon Valley has for government.
If I could just ask you about artificial intelligence briefly, you've noted that AI is based on that data collection model that you don't really like. Are you worried about where it's going to lead us?
So we need to recognize that the technologies being called AI now are reliant on mass surveillance. They require huge amounts of data to train and tune these AI models like GPT. And then they require more data to input into those models, whether it be personal data that the models use to make a decision or prediction about us, or whether it be the prompts that we enter into systems like ChatGPT. So these are models that fundamentally rely on the surveillance business model, and in their proliferation are expanding and entrenching this model. So I think we need to be very cautious with the AI narrative, where we are being led to confuse mass surveillance with intelligence, and by doing so initiate these corporate technologies into the core of our social and governmental institutions.
Meredith Whittaker, thank you so much for talking to us tonight.
Lovely to be here. Thank you.
So that was, let me get this here. So that was the founder of Signal.
Meredith Whittaker, welcome to Seventh.
Right. So Signal is a platform where it's like, you know, what was like, let me just read what it, yeah. So president of the Signal Foundation, which developed one of the most commonly used encrypted messaging app, Signal. Right. So it's the idea, like, I mean, like, we look at AI and stuff and we go with ChatGPT and all this, and like we mentioned about comics, right, and writing, and how I took a story, you know, that I had outlined and stuff, and I written about a couple pages of it, and I went, let's see how ChatGPT works with this story, right? A boy and his dog, you know, right? And this whole thing. And I had that story written. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And then I chucked it into ChatGPT, and that's like about a year ago or something, you know, because I wanted to see what this was all about, because I couldn't just speak on it without knowing what it does, right? And so, and I also did the AI art thing as well. And so what happened was, like, let me get Meredith off there. So it was just the ABC of it, like I was mentioning, like it was just like, and I'm thinking, so what it did was, anybody who'd ever written anything to do with robots, with kids, with dogs, basically took all those people's work and scrapped whatever it was and put it into my story and went, this works here, this works here, this works here, this works here. However, I already knew that's what worked there, and I don't want that to work there, because I knew that's the easiest thing to write, was to do it the way it's supposed, you know, that's the way the standard storytelling, right? Because if you're writing, you don't want everybody to just have the standard storytelling, like, you know, because everybody can recognize a bad story, right?
Most people.
Yeah.
Except for the people that use AI.
Yeah.
And I agree with Meredith. I agree with Meredith. And listen, she's 100% right. Listen, they use the excuse that they need to have access to encryption and everybody's private communications because of terrorism. Here's the thing: governments have been hunting down terrorists successfully since before computers were a thing, since before any technology that we know it today existed, because they know where it's coming from. They know who to be keeping tabs on roughly. They follow the trail that way. They can still do that today. All right. They still know who they're looking for, just because they can't see, and they can get access individually to those people based on court orders or whatever they need, however they got to go about it. There is no need for them to have access to yours and mine. You know what I'm saying? We're not on anybody's watch list. Well, maybe not till now, but we're not on anybody's watch list. And there's no reason for them to see what me and my grandparents are talking about on Facebook or whatever, behind closed doors on a messaging app or whatever. There's no reason for it. The reason is they want control. They want to be able to shut down whatever anybody's saying or thinking. And you know what? I'm the person that believes that, like, you know, it goes back to what I said earlier. I have a thick skin. You could say whatever you want about me. Would it bother me? It might bother me. I'd be like, who the hell is this person's opinion? I don't even know who they are, but whatever. But you're entitled to your opinion, and you're entitled to say whatever the hell you want. That's how I feel. I mean, I'm in America. I believe you have the right to free speech here, and so say what you want. You know, guess what though? If you say it in a public arena, I'll just understand. I might say something back to you.
Please support the Robotnation comic book on Kickstarter, a 44-page full-color sci-fi horror comic book for mature readers from New Zealand. The comic book is translated into 3 languages, English, Spanish and Portuguese, with amazing art and variant covers from artists around the world. This first issue of Robotnation will be released as self-contained one-shot style complete books. Each issue has 2 stories. Visit Kickstarter.com and use Robotnation in the search bar.